Hello students, let's start with theorem, boundedness theorem. Boundedness theorem. Its statement is, let I is a closed interval a to b be a closed and bounded interval, and let f is a function from I to R be continuous on I. Then f is bounded on I. So first of all, what is given? This is a closed and bounded interval. F is a function from I to R. F is continuous function on I. What we have to show? We have to show f is also bounded on I. In the last lecture, we revised the definition of bounded function. In this theorem, we have to show f is bounded on I. So we will assume that f is not bounded on AB. Assume that f is unbounded on closed interval AB. Okay, we have to prove it is bounded. Assume it is unbounded. Later we will get contradiction. Now, what we are doing here? Now consider this is interval A to B. We have assumed f is unbounded at this interval A to B. So we will divide it into two equal parts, a plus b by 2, like this. Okay, so f is unbounded on AB means f is unbounded at least one of these two subintervals. So suppose f is unbounded on this interval. Again we divide this into two equal parts. F is unbounded on this complete interval means unbounded on this or this. Okay, so suppose it is unbounded here. So again we divide it like this. So f is unbounded. Again we divide it somewhere. So f is unbounded on left or right side. If f is unbounded on left and right both sides, then we assume that we will take only which part? We will take left interval, left subinterval. Okay, assume that f is unbounded on AB, then f is unbounded on at least one of the intervals a to a plus b by 2 or a plus b by 2 to b. So let us give the name a1 b1 to interval in which f is not bounded. So let a1 b1 be one of them on which f is unbounded. Okay, now again f is unbounded on at least one of the intervals a1 comma a1 plus b1 upon 2 or a1 plus b1 upon 2 comma b1. Okay, so let us give the name a2 b2. Let a2 b2 be one of them on which f is unbounded. Okay, what we are doing, I am saying it once again. AB this interval, some function f is unbounded on this interval. So unbounded on this means unbounded on this interval or this. Let us consider it is unbounded on this a2 a plus b by 2. Let us give it name a1 b1. Now function is unbounded on a1 b1 means it is unbounded on a1 plus b1 by 2 or this interval. Let us assume it is unbounded here, so let us give it name a2 b2 like this. Okay, so continuing like this, if we continue in this way, we get what we get? Intervals AB contains A1 B1 contains A2 B2 contains dot 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 contains AN BN contains like this. Okay, on each of which f is unbounded. Okay, now here take one note that if we choose left half if f is unbounded on both halves. Okay, if f is unbounded on both halves, we are choosing left half. Also note that length of interval an bn, what will be its length? Its length will be b minus a upon 2 raised to n, because we are dividing interval into equal halves. Okay, so length of a and bn will be b minus a upon 2 raised to n for each n. Now let us construct a set A, which is A, A1, A2 like this. We are taking only left points of the subintervals. Okay, and let alpha is supremum of this set A. Alpha is supremum of A means definitely alpha will belongs to interval A to B. Alpha is supremum of this point, and means supremum of A means one of this point. Alpha is nothing but one of this point, and all these points are containing closed interval AB. Therefore, alpha belongs to closed interval AB. Again, what one thing is given to us? F is continuous. It is given that f is continuous on whole interval I. Therefore, definitely f is continuous on alpha. Since f is continuous at alpha, at point alpha, it is f is continuous on I means f is continuous at point alpha. So for epsilon is equal to 1, there exists delta greater than 0, such that what? By definition of continuity, such that if mod of x minus alpha is less than delta, then mod of f of x minus f of alpha is less than epsilon. We are taking epsilon as 1. If mod of x minus alpha, because function is continuous at alpha, so if mod of x minus alpha less than delta, then mod of fx minus f of alpha less than 1. What we can write it as? X belongs to alpha minus delta, alpha plus delta. Okay, implies what? This can be written as, from this we can write mod of f of x is less than 1 plus mod of f of alpha. Means if x is between this interval, then f of x, mod of f of x will be less than 1 plus mod of f of alpha. Means what? We can say that function is bounded on this interval. Okay, therefore f is bounded on the interval, which interval? Alpha minus delta, alpha plus delta. F is bounded on this interval. Now if we choose, now let us choose, if we choose n so large that b minus a upon 2 raised to n less than delta, then what happen? We choose n so large means what is this? This is length of interval a and bn, and it is less than delta. Then what happen? This length of interval less than delta means this interval an bn is contained in alpha minus delta, alpha plus delta. Why this is so? We are choosing n large so that this is less than. Now how is this interval? Suppose it is alpha and this distance is delta, then this is alpha minus delta. This distance is delta, then it is alpha plus delta. This point is alpha minus delta. This point is alpha plus delta. If this distance is delta, this distance is delta. And what we have taken here? We choose n so that length of, this is nothing but length of interval a and bn less than delta, means this total is delta. Okay, this total part is delta, this total part is delta, and we have taken interval a and bn. If length less than delta means definitely that interval is contained in this interval alpha minus delta to alpha plus delta. Okay, now this interval is subset of alpha minus delta, alpha plus delta, and we have shown here that f is bounded on this interval. Now f is bounded on this interval means definitely f will be bounded on this interval. But is it true? No, because we have by our assumption we have written that f is unbounded on a1 b1 a2 b2 a and bn, means we get contradiction here. So our assumption that f is not bounded is wrong, therefore f is bounded on I. Okay, so here we will write, therefore as f is bounded on this, therefore f is bounded on closed interval a and bn. This is contradiction to the fact that f is unbounded on a and bn for all n. Therefore our assumption that f is unbounded on I, on what? Closed interval AB, that is on I, is wrong. Our assumption is wrong. Therefore f is bounded on I. Okay, therefore f is bounded. This is proof of theorem. Next is definition of absolute maximum and definition of absolute minimum. Let A is a subset of R and let f is a function from A to R be a function. We say that f has an absolute maximum, or we can call it as a supremum on A if there is a point C belongs to A such that f of C greater equal f of x for all x belongs to A, and we say that C is an absolute maximum point for f on A. So what is definition of absolute maximum or supremum? What is given? A is subset of R, f is a function from A to R. Okay, we say that f has absolute maximum or supremum on domain A if there is a point C such that f of C greater equal f of x. For all x belongs to A, f of C greater equal f of x, then we say that this point C is absolute maximum point, and we say that function has absolute maximum because this point C exists such that it is greater equal for all value of f of x for all value of x in A. Similarly, there will be definition of absolute minimum. What will be that? So one thing remember that here this point C must be belongs to domain. That C must be belongs to domain such that f of C greater equal A. F of C greater equal f of x. Next definition for absolute minimum. Let A is a subset of R. F is a function from A to R be a function. We say that f has an absolute minimum, or it also called as infimum on A if there is a point. Let us denote now this point, let us denote by D. D belongs to A such that now it is absolute minimum, so here must be f of D is less equal f of x for all x belongs to A. So function has absolute minimum because there exists D such that f of D less equal f of x for each value of x in A, and we say that D is an absolute minimum point for f on A. Here also that point D must belongs to A. Okay. Now let us see some examples of absolute maximum and absolute minimum. Now consider the function. Consider f of x is equal to x for all x belongs to 0. What will be the graph of this function? 0, suppose it is 1, 0, 1. This is our domain. Function is f of x is equal to x, like this. Okay. Okay, this is our graph 0 to 1. Now this function, is it have absolute maximum, absolute minimum? Now you can see this point is maximum, but whether that point 1, what we have written, there exists a point in domain such that f of C less equal f of x for all x in domain. There exists C belongs to domain, but here what is given, it is open interval. Okay, so it is, you can see it is maximum, but this one not included in the domain, therefore this function does not attain absolute maximum. Also it does not attain absolute minimum because this 0 is not included in the domain. So we will write here this function is continuous. Okay, graph was continuous, this function is continuous, bounded, but it attains neither an absolute maximum nor an absolute minimum. Okay, because the 0 and 1 were not included in the domain. Consider another example. Consider f of x is equal to 1 upon x, x greater than 0, be defined on various intervals as, so first interval 0 open, 1 closed, second 1 to infinity, third 0 to infinity, fourth 1 to 2, closed 1 to 2. So the graph of this function will be, the graph of f is, f of x is equal to 1 upon x. So graph of this function is like this: 1 2 3 1 2 3 0 x y. For all x greater than 0, means we are considering only positive reals. X greater than 0, if x is 1, f of 1 will be 1 upon 1, that is 1. F of 2 will be what? 1 half, 0.5. F of 3 will be 1 upon 3. Okay, so it will be like this. And what about for these points? If x is 0.5, 1 upon 0.5, that is 10 upon 5, so it is 2. For 0.5 it is 2. Okay, so graph will be like this. Okay, so this is graph of function not touching to y-axis. So this is graph of f of x is equal to 1 upon x. Now it is defined on these 4 intervals. Now see the graph and let us guess whether it attains its absolute maximum and absolute minimum or not. So in this interval 0 to 1, 0 not included, 1 is included. So in 0 absolute maximum is not attained because 0 is not included, and we are not defined the graph at 0 because that will be 1 upon 0. So absolute maximum not attained, and means look only which part in between 0 to 1. Okay, absolute maximum not attained, absolute minimum is attained because 1 included in the domain. 1 to infinity means from here, from 1 to this complete graph. Now 1 is included, and at 1 you can see the graph from this to this, it is absolute maximum. So absolute maximum is attained, absolute minimum is not attained. From 0 to infinity, complete graph, both are absolute maximum, absolute minimum not attained. Closed 1 to 2 means from this point 1 to 2, this point absolute, and 1 and 2 are also included, so absolute maximum is attained, also absolute minimum is attained. Okay, this is absolute maximum, this is absolute minimum. So for 1 to 2, absolute maximum minimum is attained. Okay, so this is our graph. Here observe that f is continuous, and first one on interval 0 to 1, on first interval 0 to 1, the function has an absolute minimum but not an absolute maximum. For second, on interval 1 to infinity, the function has absolute maximum but not an absolute minimum. Third, on which interval? 0 infinity, the function has neither absolute maximum nor absolute minimum. And fourth, at which interval? Closed 1 to 2, that is fourth point. On 1 to 2, on 1 to 2 means this part, only this part. Okay, only this part. On 1 to 2, the function has absolute maximum and also has absolute minimum. Okay, this is about absolute maximum and absolute minimum examples. Okay, let's stop here. In next lecture we will start with maximum minimum theorem. Thank you.